Munchkins. In this video I'm going to be talking about the changes on my channel and everything that those who are following me who are friendly and are loyal to God will need to know. However, those who are calling themselves royal without God's grace and are not loyal to God, kings and queens, this video is not for them. So it's those who are royal and loyal to God. So looking at the subject, according to my Bible that I have in front of me here, and I have my glasses. I'm going to take them off because they're too bulky when my face is so close to the camera. However, I am going to use my glasses as a marker to mark my book, which is a holy book. So to celebrate the body of Jesus Christ according to the Holy Scriptures, and even if I didn't have the Holy Scriptures, the outpouring of the Holy Spirit is there available for everybody to serve God. The opposite of serving God is the spirit of lies, treachery, and all types of unfair insults. So there is such a thing as fair insults. So the authority of Jesus Christ and God's kingdom and authority is above human beings. And the benefactor, similar to the bank. So every leader in every nation has a bank account. And what they're saying is that if you are not a leader and you're not employed, you don't have a job, you cannot have a bank account. So this is very oppressive because not all of us can have a job to be employed when you're not able to work. And so they're saying if you don't work, you don't eat traditionally, which is a pagan, godless authority, which is opposite of what Jesus Christ had said, and it's disloyal to Jesus Christ. Also, how they're oppressing social media is saying that the poor people cannot have quality, the unemployed people cannot have quality service, and they're targeted for either assisted suicide or some type of assisted connection to cyberbullies. This signifies that only the privileged and the working class have quality and beauty, not God's people who are persecuted. We're less human, we're the same as animals, according to the bad leaders who had crucified Jesus Christ in the past times and today. So it is relevant today. Same spirit, bad spirit, which is a spirit of lie, deception, misguidance, compared to the spirit of truth, guidance, and God's grace and glory. So it's the same bad spirit that wants to persecute and not pardon God's people. They don't have any mercy. Even children, as in my case, can disrespect their parents, and particularly those parents that cannot defend themselves. Now, I have never used my daughter or my children to defend me and to ensure my best interest. So she confronted me in trials and tribulations. No one explained to her about sickness. So many sicknesses I have. No one explained it to her, even though I did ask. And so again, I was being oppressed by the systems. And she was disloyal to me from age 12 because no one explained to her. They all demonized and dehumanized me. Mum is unemployed in society, so therefore she cannot achieve freedom, and therefore it's only about you. So this is what they're teaching my daughter from the education system, from the entertainment system, and from the employment system. So again, these are notions and motions churning her feelings, her logic, and her experience to push away anything to do with faith. It is only about fortune and money and fame. Who do you know? So, which to me is the opposite. For my domestic policy, it is to have the profession of faith in Jesus Christ. We're the opposite of the enemy that says seeing is believing. It is an enemy. It is an antichrist. They're saying, well, seeing is believing, but we are against faith in God. We're against trust in each other. It's not about that. It's about fast self-gratification, self-preservation, self-me society. So the prayers of Jesus, again, looking at these holy scriptures, is he was tempted and he had to refuse the terrible temptations where in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights to ensure the best interest of the enemy, who is the rebel angel, the bad angel, not the good angels. And they confronted Jesus and said, you must worship us, you must bow down to authorities, you must do as we tell you, you must allow the rebel angel to take over your entire life, every aspect of it. My camera keeps falling as I don't have the right equipment, so of course Jesus didn't do that. Jesus resisted. This camera needs to stay in position. And so it sets us an example for all of God's people to do the same. And even in my life, after 20 years plus, I've often been humiliated for not having a car, not having a big family. That is capitalism. Not having a big social network. That is colonialism. And so often they've done this to say that my daughter's not going to have a quality childhood because of her poor mother being poor and mother being sick. So I was not able to achieve my freedom, therefore I haven't been enslaved in a society that totally disrespects anyone who is unemployed, sick and disabled, which is a repeated pattern of abuse and wrong behaviour that is never disciplined. So I called her a selfish, spoiled brat who was taken into a care home, separated from me. And she wanted to go home. She wanted to return to my home. She lived with me for 10 years. And she never accepted being smuggled out or forced out of our own home. And both of us felt like crucified with Jesus Christ. For my family in a small unit being separated as a single mum, it was bad enough that her dad had died. How much worse did the authorities, bad leaders, did to make her suffer and emotionally abuse my daughter? It's abuse. She struggled enough in her sensitive young age, at age 9.5. They had to add to that pain and suffering that she had to lose her mum too. And so we both faced death threats. To us, it was the same as a death threat. And we were pre-warned by Jesus in the Holy Spirit that this witchcraft of child kidnapping and child separation is going to happen. As we remember the holy books in the Old Testament, 1 Kings chapter 19 verses 7 to 8 in particular, how Elijah and Elisha supported family and their tragedy at that moment to be reunited and to emphasize the importance of family and the lesson from the beginning to the end. How it is important for God to repeat the invitation to remember that God knows our temptations, trials, and tribulations, and immediately will come to support us, will never fail to support us. But my daughter was taught at her secular school to resist any teaching, any doctrine that is Christian, because it is against Christianity. They will deny it typically and say, oh, we're not under the sign of being anti-Christian, but they will deny it. So she's wounded my daughter psychologically, this social worker, and there was nothing that I could do. And also that I had to have my physician. I had many physicians and many illnesses in my body, and it added to our problems, major problems. So they wrote false reports. They stirred up powers of darkness, the same as what they did to Jesus, particularly in the Holy Bible reference. How in all the New Testaments they said that Jesus was not the master. They denied Jesus' fame and fortune because he wasn't focusing on money and fame, being popular. He was focusing on making a world a better place, making an environment a friendly, hospitable place, not a hostile place. So every morning, Jesus was not concerned about his employment, working with his carpenter dad. Jesus was not concerned about being a professional individual, or being a type of a soldier or a police who would constantly interrogate. No, Jesus was looking to tell the truth and to he became famous and popular not because of the wrong reasons, for the right reasons. Is that people were making fun of him, they were insulting him, and so most of the times Jesus taught us to love our enemies, turn another cheek, and bless your enemies, bless those who curse you. So that was the report given to those authorities who hated Jesus, for Jesus' fame without fortune, or Jesus had fortune, such as the beautiful perfume that this woman gave to Jesus, and she gave him a perfume, and she kissed his feet and washed his feet with her long, beautiful hair. And then this report made them very envious and jealous. Jesus is not allowed to be famous, and Jesus is not allowed to be fortunate. That money is wasted on the perfume. Wasted. So the same authority is saying the same thing, that the money on people who are disabled, crippled, is being wasted, and they want to stop in America and in England all benefit systems very quickly, to use that money for more weapons, more war, and more destruction. And including the physicians and doctors are there to cover up and not to cure. And I didn't know this. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I put my trust in unreliability in their systems, unaware of the fact that it was a system of destruction. It was an agency of destruction. I wasn't aware of the fact. And it is targeting particularly people who are peacemakers, who are advocating for Christianity, who are single parents, who are possibly slightly a mixed race, and possibly they would investigate my relatives and know even more about my relatives than I do. And so this was the mix of pleasure and pain, which we call passion. And they knew everything about Jesus, and they wanted to arrest Jesus because he was having fame without the fortune, or fortune without the fame. They wanted Jesus to have a bit of both at the same time. since Jesus didn't have it at the same time, they criticized him, they made fun of him, and said that he was a madman. He's not a madman. And in the chronological order, everything that Jesus was doing was about his faith in God and fulfilling God's promises on planet Earth. And in every area of the village that he had gone to. And so when he had that private session of being tempted in the desert, where he was training himself to be what we call today someone who would be qualified or licensed to be a preacher, teacher, he had to go and train himself in the desert. Hungry, no food, nothing. And so he denied himself so that he would receive the messages from the Holy Spirit, and to know what is going to guard us as a human race against the evil spirit of lies, deception, and conspiracies. So as a servant, even though Jesus is the boss and the King of all kings, he chose to be lower than the angels, even though he was even higher than the angels, as the Son of God and as the Son of human beings, the one and only. He lowered himself from the angels so that he could understand the difference. So he knows we can differentiate ourselves as God's people. So as much as the wicked one, the bad leaders, the bad angels had taken a report of disinformation, God's people and the good people, and we are good because God made us good, we also made a report, and here it is, 2,000 years old. And it's the same thing on repeat mode over and over again, how bad history is repeating itself and the holy history is repeating itself. So we are cured, no longer have the mixture of pleasure and pain, which is passion. We only have that zeal, so we are zealous for God, being divine in destroying death and being divine in destroying sickness. So I was near my death doors. Everything was falling to bits. My entire body and head was attacked. Every part of my body was attacked. As an independent single woman going through a divorce, I didn't want to have to put up with being married to those individual, so-called husband, and his extended family, his parents and my in-laws. And at that moment, I realized that I was with the enemy. I didn't want to remain with the enemy because he would live the opposite. And it's a tragedy to migrate to another country and to be constantly abused physically and emotionally and mentally. And so I want to emphasize in this video that was backdated to 2007 when I divorced, and 2006 when 2006. Just after that, I'd given birth. He had caused a lot of physical abuse in me, which was domestic abuse. And I then realized I made a huge mistake and that he had very heavy psychological baggage. And I wasn't having any quality in my relationship with him because there's no way. God said, do not marry someone unequally yoked that is opposite from you. And so no more opposite attracts. I had to face death threats because we were the opposite attract, even though it is possible, according to the Bible and according to many Christians that say that it is possible for the unbelieving husband or unbelieving spouse, wife, can become a believer in God and trust and obey God. It is possible, but that risk is not recommended because they don't respect the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and they don't respect life. and themselves, they're their own worst enemy. So no one can accomplish anything without Christ, and that's what that's what my daughter was taught by me, is that we're a nobody as a human race, as an individual or group. The bad rebel angel is saying you're a nobody when you don't have any money, and you don't have a job, and you don't have a social life. That's what my daughter announced to me. Unexpectedly, she said, which was a demon spirit, I don't want to come home to a nobody, because she knew that the superiors, the authorities, and those who are taking care of her as adults are telling her this. And so the principle of that testimony of child abuse, emotional abuse, is constantly telling her that she has to unify with them, their mind set. And that's what she announced to me when she was 13 years old. I went to see her at a contact center when she was 14 years old, and she had her own community, and I don't. And she had a celebration, and I only initially saw my daughter 4 times a year. So I forgave her. I gave her lots of chances since I met her face to face when she was 14. She then there was pandemic of COVID-19. She then turned 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 5 years not seen her, or longer. So she's made that initiative that was what they teach her, the opposite of what I teach her. You're a nobody without money and a job. I'm saying to her, no, you're a nobody without Christ, and acknowledging that Christ died and lives for you. That same principle of my domestic policy and my Christian home, and also my missionary, to see her as a child. However, when she turned 18, I realized that she was only interested in meeting me to insult me and make fun of me. Oh, Mum, you're too fat. Oh, Mum, you're too ugly. Oh, Mum, I wish you were not my mum. I wish you were dead the same as my dad is dead. You killed my dad. And all of these horrible prefigures in her mind because of the child abuse and child separation from their parents, alienating. Now, her dad died when she was 8 years old, and around that age, and it was in 2012. And I've never stopped her seeing her dad. So they caused the parent alienation after she lived with me for 10 years. And we haven't been reunited since because of the COVID pandemic to freely and fully be able to express ourselves. So as a result of that, and so much sacrifice I have done for my daughter as a single mum, of spending a lot of money for her to have a social, for her to have an education, for her to have the best child money that she received, was always for my daughter. And I was always wearing the same old thing and never really had the opportunity to have my own social and my own work and my own education, as child minding is too expensive, and as I didn't have any extended family myself. So what the authority did, which is totally out of order, they separated me from my daughter, because once I left her unattended at school at age 9.5, she was there for about 7:45 in the morning as a one-off, because my back was injured in the process of moving to her first home and first new school. So they wrote replies and said I was moving home too many times, which was a lie. It was my daughter's first school and first new home. And so they then carried on assaulting me verbally, writing false reports, assembling against me. And that left me in all directions. and totally stressed out. Similar to the wildlife program of, I think it was on BBC, of the two whales, and the killer sharks had attacked the mother and the baby whale, and they stressed them out, and the baby whale died, and the killer sharks had eaten the baby whale. So it's no mystery as to what they've done to gang up on me, to make announcement that I was a vulnerable family unit, and it's an evil initiative and their last combat. So it was, first of all, forced me into mental health services as a minor personality disorder, and then second of all, forced on me, and second of all, kidnapped my daughter, which was their last combat. Total destruction of my life, because they're anti-Christ and anti-migrants living in England. Now, it doesn't matter that I look European and white and horrible hairstyle. The fact is, they don't like me because they know my relatives more than I know my relatives, so they assume I'm an extension of my relatives and I'm the same as my mum and dad, which of course I'm not the same as them. And so they've stirred this darkness, heavy burdens on me, and caused a lot of problems as an institutional racism and also slavery. To say you're a slave to the system of oppression, which is an evil spirit. And so, according to the Bible, the old covenant of the Ten Commandments, they're saying, is no longer relevant for the new covenant of the New Testament. So, human beings cannot be reunited in the presence of God or the saints to be happy. No, they need money, sex and drugs to be happy, and pay the taxes to the government to be happy, and free and be full and satisfied. So we should all love humanity, not because God says, by the body and the blood of Jesus Christ can you only be happy and be full in the holy freedom. Whether I'm alive or dead, it is the freedom that God gives me, and God's rulership, God's principle, and God's rules are not out of date. It's actually fulfillment. So with a SIM card, for example, you can have different various SIMs that can have more data on there or less data on there. So it's an upgrade from the old 10 commandments to the new 10 commandments in the New Testament. And God accepted Jesus Christ as a perfect sacrifice by Jesus' body and blood for all humanity to be in the plan and purpose of being loyal towards God. But they're not loyal towards God because of disinformation and smear campaigns, which brings me to the close of this video. Why I am only leaving one video, and I'm changing my platform where I'm reading children's stories. So that would be, I'll probably have about 5 children's stories of my daughter's ex-daughter, because she's not my daughter anymore, it's demon possessed, until she dies. She's demon possessed until she dies. And I cannot accomplish my work through Jesus Christ to remove that demon because they're controlling her. My ex-mother-in-law isn't controlling her until she dies. My foster mum is controlling her until she dies, and they're that much older than me. And so this unique organized crime against humanity is what they've done. So Jesus will have to initiate clearly in trying to support my daughter at the right time and at the right place for her to want to see me. For now, she doesn't really want to see me other than to make fun of me. And so every report is out of context. Everything that they've done is out of order. And so I don't want to bring bad negative attention to myself. everything that I've done, the enemy would come along and say, I've done it better than you. It's an unfair competition and challenge. I'm constantly being rejected by everybody, constantly being targeted for saying that I'm after married men in the AI system, that I'm desperate for sex, and that I need the power um, for them to remove the mystery by invading my privacy at home. And so I don't have that legal power, and it's a cyberbully. And so these are criminal incidences, and also they're saying that the enemies will conquer Jesus and all of God's people by installing a new law or a new authority that is going to make smear campaigns against the poor. Those who are already persecuted are going to be even more targeted for abuse, such as all my phone devices are stolen, all my SIM cards are stolen. And then they say, oh, you have too many phones. And yet I can't use the internet like most people can who are employed, which is a bad surprise. So exactly what they've done is not a business affair, because I don't have any business contract with them. And yet they're terrorizing me to say, who gave you the authority to use the internet? And yet I'm paying for the bills. So they've destroyed all my mobile phones and saying I'm using too many mobile phones. Every new year I have to buy a new mobile phone because of the network provider who seems to be allowing tyrants to go through my security and go through my accounts, but they will deny it. So this is a new thing that they've created to see how much they can get away with it, and be reapproached and scrutinized by this repetition of the ceremony for mocking Jesus Christ, smear campaigns, I said, and cyberbullying, and removing all my freedoms in Jesus Christ, including my freedom of speech and freedom of religion. And so as a result, I feel worn out, exhausted, cannot have any privacy, cannot have any privilege, cannot have any protection, because I'm put constantly in the path of danger. So I'm making new unique videos just for children. That's changed. And I'll probably do maximum 5 videos in a whole year. And I also plan to put a note of a location where I'm meeting my social connections. And that would be for equal opportunities to be near security, which is an office near the police station in my local offices, just in case there's conflict, or there's some type of terrorists who are visiting me at that garden. Obviously I can't receive emails because there's a catastrophe of bad spies looking at my email, and they've destroyed all my privacy. So I have said, on a particular date, you can meet me at this location, at this garden, and if there is a conflict at the distance, I will then know who is Christian, who is humbled, so it's not too bewildering, and who is not a Christian and who is not humbled, to stay away. Because I'm very worried that I cannot understand people who are not Christians and not humbled. They only want to have a fight and argue and spread disinformation, which is not an ordinary situation. So I don't understand why they would do that, other than the fact that they're perverts and obscurers of justice, and they want to debate, they want to destroy, they want to make me seem as though I'm useless. And all my achievements I've done through Jesus Christ has been my ceremony and my festival in God, and my accomplishments in God as a single mum, which they have totally destroyed. And they made a joke to say, you're stupid, the copper denarii compared to our gold. And so that's how nasty they are. And I've laboured all my life. I've been working hard all my life, and I've suffered all my life. And so they don't like the fact that I made any progress or I made any success. They don't like the fact that Jesus Christ has helped me to recover and to escape death. I laugh about it. God will laugh at them, and God helps me laugh about it every day. So I'm not trying to persuade anybody. I'm just saying it could be a man or a woman that would want to meet me. But there's also a snare and trap there at the same time. The car parking, I think you could either pay or not pay. And I haven't chosen the date yet. But I know that the authorities are there in case there is trouble. And they're not ordinary. They want to make incidences of violence against me as a woman, or want to make an end of my reputation, positive reputation. So that's the example of meetups at that garden, at that particular office nearby, to manage who I meet, how honest and effective they are. But if it's a mismanagement and troublemaking that are going to character assassinate me or persuade me to promote some fraud, or be some type of criminal, I will say, pardon me, excuse me, I don't want you anywhere near me, and I cannot put you in the friend category. So there's a difference between sinners and believers and believers. So I want to exclude myself from the unbelievers or those who are not humbled. So we need that cooperation. I need that cooperation. And I'm not going to accept anybody who's only going to give me compliments. They have to closely watch what God's purpose and plan is for my life, to be on the same page. If we're not on the same page logically, emotionally, for the spiritual body and physical body, it's not appropriate to meet. I'm just probably going to publicize the date that I will be meeting, significant to the meeting, on a playlist. But I may decide not to. I haven't made that decision yet. It will probably be, when I make my decision, around Christmas 2024. And so I'll be writing on my playlist the time and the date that I will be around, to value the garden and nature and communication, and to bring privacy so that I know that my emails are not being spied on, my telephone calls are not being listened to, and to see if there is some type of curiosity mingled with apprehension, if there is hesitation, then I know it's not true, genuine love. God says perfect love casts out fear. And the opposite of that is the destruction and grievance of the Holy Spirit. So that's the sort of type of a talking therapy, counselling, consideration as a secondary level. The first initiative is, at the beginning of blossoming friendship, is acceptance, being on the same page, or the refusal of being on the same page. So that's the first thing, and then the second thing I've just mentioned, compliments and everything else. And I need God's miracle to help me to find a way out of this enslavement, out of this oppression, and find a new habit, a new home, and legitimate values that I want to attach in my life, just like the Bible says, in the two comparison of tenderness, tender loving care, and how Jesus took care of it, all of his friends who were following him, and Jesus did follow certain people too. So we don't want arrogant. God says, resist the bad pride, bad arrogance, those who are scoffing all the time and have smugness. So the sentiment is to have that commitment to complete God's mission in my life and or his or her life as friends, and not to focus too much on worldly wisdom, because it's the opposite of that. They're disinterested in Christianity, right? So I cannot convert anyone unless they are genuinely humble and they want to walk and watch closely what Jesus wants on the same page to de-stress, and the principle that certifies my domestic policies respectfully, not disrespectfully. So that's the attitude I accept compared to the attitude I don't accept and just leave. So there's a bench there, the police are opposite, the councils are opposite, there has to be a supreme condition, certain time, certain place. And so I'm not going to put the address down, but I will put down the time and the location. If they are really serious about helping me, they will find the address themselves, he or she, in the discipleship. So the 12 Jesus followers, the 12 disciples who follow Jesus, is not the end. Eternally we have followers of Jesus. So it's a beautiful garden. The police is right opposite there. The bench is right opposite there. I've sent a picture of it. I'm following it on YouTube. And I say, well, this is it. It's not a private location. It's a public location. I'm going to go here with a clean spirit, no perversity, no advertisement, no whitewash or blackwash. Just being true witnesses. I'm going to meet here, not false witnesses, to focus in meeting Jesus. So this is the location I'm meeting. If you are serious, you find it yourself. I can't email you. You can't email me. Because I'm concerned about my privacy violations, and I can't have social and solicitors at the same time because it's destroying my time and stress levels go up. So I can have one or the other. I can't have solicitors and social at the same time. It doesn't work for me. So having that community and faithful vigilance is to trust God. Because they write, I am going here, I don't have a weapon, I have a spiritual weapon, and that is no, it's not appropriate, I don't want to speak to you, turn around and leave. That is my spiritual weapon. Not to be sustaining anybody by converting anybody, by convincing anybody, just simply welcome you to meet me at the public place, so that I can grow my community and concentrate on being faithful to God, to not necessarily talk about God all the time, but to practice what we preach. Also talk about our rules and regulations on keeping safe in public. So that's what I'm putting. I'm not making any advertisement, just the location. If anyone's interested, they can look it up themselves, and they know the date that I'm going there and the time I'm going there. So it's not in a cafe. So then, if I agree and the person also agrees with me, then we can change the location on the same day to go to a cafe somewhere, which is also public, to have a nice warm drink. To avoid any touching, no handshakes. Them inadvertently may cause them to be uncomfortable, he or she. I don't want to meet in a group. It would be one to one person. And I don't want to cause any crime or murder as a result of them meeting me. Oh no. So no physical contact, just verbal, to see how much we agree or disagree with certain things, and relaxation. And what is destroying my life, who is destroying my life, and how to take my control back. Out of the underworld, hell on earth, it's come to this, that I have to find someone or someone in somewhere at that same location that would meet me, to avoid a telephone, avoid internet, avoid mobile phones, avoid computers, avoid personal and private address. It's just a location in the public to find people for my community, and no strings attached. And I'm not going to give away my telephone number. I'm going to, if I do like the person, I'm going to arrange to meet them again and again and again and again in public, and that's it. It's not going to know my personal private number, know my personal private home address or office business work or anything like that. It will know the point of meeting, and God will guide our relationship through grace and through general respect for one another, and commonality, common ground. If it's the opposite, then there's going to be a distance and unclear communication. I have to stop this, and no more meetings. And if that causes a problem where they meet me, even though I said I have to stop this meeting, then there could be a conflict and police get involved. That's why I've said that location, because that person may not be comfortable with me, I may not be comfortable with that person, and then there's no pretense. Let your yay be yay, no be no. And so if I say no, I don't want to have these meetings anymore, and they keep turning up, then that's trouble. It's not a friend. It's some type of an illusion or delusion individual that is causing trouble. I may end up with 70 or 80 or 90 or 100 friends. It'll have to be a different date for a meeting, and I will be overwhelmed. I don't accept that many. Maximum 10. And so that's how I close my video. If I decide not to have public community meeting, I will not put anything out on the playlist. If I do, then I will put the playlist down. Because it's inflamed now. It's caused a type of an infection of a parasitic tyrant that is totally removing my privacy and my confidentiality, all my phones, all my emails, my location, simply for using my social media, all my documents, and it's very, very bad. And so I close this video, and there is always inspiration and a mystery and an adventure for this suggestion. I'm going to close this video, and made it possible to be together with people who have the same mindset at the crossroads. I'm Maya Maria, also known as Mima. Bye.